All right, Duffer Brothers, I've had enough. How many times can one show take me on a roller coaster of emotions? I'm sick of it. Until next season. What is up, Netflix fans? Welcome back to my channel. I just binged the final 2 episodes of Stranger Things Season 4, and it was like a 4-hour binge, but you know what? Every second was worth it. We're going to get into some spoilers, how I feel about these 2 episodes, if they paid off on the build-up, and I need your comments. Please drop them down below. I want your thoughts. Who did you expect to die? What were your feelings on who did die? What happened to Max? All of the crazy things. We'll get into spoilers, and if you enjoy this video, be sure to come back. I plan on doing a Stranger Things tier list, and I'll be ranking the seasons over on TikTok. But let's get right into Episode 8, and in number 8, Nancy is still in the midst of having these visions. Elle is trying to pass an important test, but back in Hawkins, the gang is gathering supplies and preparing for this giant epic battle that goes right into Episode 9. But Episode 8 is firmly about the relationships between the characters and really kind of building up to this huge culmination in Episode 9. Numerous battles, numerous storylines, and we get the beginning of these storylines in Episode 8. And as it wraps up and you see a lot of our characters in peril, the stakes have truly never been higher, and that's one thing I felt like Episode 8 was able to do really, really well. Obviously, 7 gave us everything we needed to know about Vecna, and now that we know where Vecna came from, and we get even more of that in these 2 episodes, rediscovering those origins, but also how that connects to the Mind Flare, how the Mind Flare is connected to the Demogorgon, and all of these beings as one. We see when one gets taken down, they're all struggling in Episode 9, but 8 is starting to pay off on those origins given to us in Episode 7. But a lot of the focus here is on our crew going to rescue 11, and 11 still in the midst of this bunker under the reign and rule of Papa. Papa will not let her leave. And as much as I wanted to trust Papa as we were going throughout the season, I'm like, all right, I guess he's not that bad. The more we stick with these characters, the more I'm like, I guess he is as bad as we thought he was. Even though his intentions are good, his intentions are there, and I believe this show does a great job of giving us those motivations. At the end of the day, we understand that 11 has to get out of here, and I love what Owen says at one point. Paul Reiser is so good as this character, essentially telling 11, this is your decision. Same thing to Papa. This is her decision. You let her make her choice. Papa doesn't like that answer very much, but as they are attempting to escape, I believe we get the best sequence that we've gotten in quite some time in Stranger Things in terms of action as 11 takes down the helicopter, but not after Papa gets taken down prior to that. It's the first major death of this batch of episodes, and I would say really the biggest death of the season so far. We heard that there was going to be a large body count in these final 2 episodes, and that's technically the case because of the huge series of events that happens in Hawkins. We'll get into that, and I believe they said 22 individuals died, a bunch are still missing, but in terms of characters that we know and love, I wouldn't say there was a massive body count, Papa being the very first one, and I really love that moment between them at the end. He's trying to get her to say something that she's not quite ready to say, and she just says, goodbye, Papa. And that's just a great moment. 11 continuing on her path with the character growth that she's experienced this season. I love that. And of course, reuniting with Mike and Will. And, you know, Will and Mike, you can tell there are feelings there from Will. That shot where Mike goes up to 11, you see Will kind of in the background. And I'm just like, the Duffer Brothers, they know what they're doing. And I love the fact that Jonathan has something more to do, and I guess I could say the same thing for Will. They didn't really have a lot to do in the first batch of episodes, but in these 2 episodes, they're finally given something. Jonathan being there for his younger brother, understanding when he's looking in the mirror and hearing the conversation between he and Mike that something else is at play here. He apologizes for not being there for his brother. There's a great moment between those two, but it's also reuniting with Eleven and realizing that their adventure, it has to continue, and their path just got a lot more clear. So what are they going to do? How are they going to do it? And is Argyle okay with the fact that she just took down a helicopter? What a cool action scene for 11. Granted, it was very brief, but, you know, them taking out Papa, there was a good chance that she could have gotten shot as well. So thankfully, they were a good shot, but not until they were taken down and they exploded. So rest in peace, random helicopter dudes. And with the rest of our crew, there's a lot going on here between Steve and Nancy. You have Robin, you have Lucas and Dustin, and everyone's kind of understanding what their role has to be, going in, infiltrating. Their plan is to take down Vecna, but how are they going to do it? And Eddie being the man to bring in the big demon bats using his awesome distraction, which I thought was an incredible musical montage. I knew as soon as he said that he was going to do that, I'm like, they're going to use the music as the background. They're going to show us a couple of scenes, put it all together. And, you know, we get montage after montage and shows like this, but that, to me, was one of the most well-constructed, awesome, heroic montages I've seen, and utilizing Eddie as that character. And what an amazing addition this season. I loved every bit of Eddie from top to bottom. Well, I will say, at the beginning I was like, when he stood up on the table, that's who he wants people to see him as, but he was much more than that. It also makes me really sad to see how the town perceived Eddie at the end of the day as the leader of the Hellfire Club, and they look at it as this cult that was a big part of why all of those kids died, right? But we know Eddie, and we understand that his role in this season was so well fleshed out, and that given to us throughout Episode 8 going into Episode 9, as he's playing that guitar, man. What a cool freaking scene for our characters. And then finally, Separate Ways comes on. I'm like, there's this song from the original trailer. I was wondering when we were going to get it. What a cool remix, but going into the home to take down Vecna, that's a risky move. And Lucas, his little sister, I would be very hesitant to take my little brother or sister into a place like that, but he does. She's a great addition as well. But you have Max. And the whole time they're doing this, you're thinking, how are they gonna kill off Max? Because I was fully expecting them to do that. Now, do they do it? I don't know. What goes down in Episode 9? And Episode 9 is where it really all starts to come together. I do want to talk about Hopper and Joyce and Murray real quick. And these guys, they're just trying to get out of Russia, right? It was nice to see Hopper and Joyce reunite, and obviously all of the shenanigans with Murray and our other two characters. You don't really know who else to trust. How are we going to get back home? What are we going to do? And that process was intricate. That's also a process that I wasn't as invested in as our other stories, which is kind of what I said about Mike and Will and Jonathan's storyline at the beginning of the season. But now that they've reunited with 11, they actually have a huge role and a huge purpose. And there's a big role to play with Hopper and with Joyce, and I enjoyed it. I liked their side of the story quite a bit. It just didn't feel as important because they're literally just trying to get home, but they're having to fight these creatures and monsters and demogorgons along the way, so that provided a lot of nice action. And obviously, anytime Hopper is on screen, you know you're going to get a phenomenal performance. So their side of things was working really well, but I'm much more concerned with Vecna and the madness happening back in Hawkins. I also feel like it's a good time to bring this up. What happened to Murray at the end? We see Hopper come back and Joyce come back. And I understand they don't have to show this, but I saw some people on Twitter a while ago speculating that he's dead. And I'm like, he's not dead just because they didn't show him. But I would have liked to have seen something from him at the end, because when he comes in with that flamethrower and all of the creatures that are fighting our heroes are kind of getting hurt by the fire, it's affecting everyone, and obviously what's going on with Vecna. Man, what a moment for that character. Murray has been so good this season, and that was kind of the Duffer's kind of bringing it all together, man. I have loved everything he's given us this season. One of my favorite characters in the show. But as we get back into Hawkins and seeing our characters finally attempting to confront Vecna, and Max making the really heroic decision to have the music on standby just in case she needs it, but to confront Vecna and be the one to distract Vecna as our other characters go in to finally destroy him and bring him down. And I go back to that montage where Eddie's playing the guitar. You have Jason chasing down our heroes, Lucas specifically, Max running from Vecna, 11 seeing Max running in the vision, Dustin, trying to warn Eddie that they're coming as they're all circling around, and Dustin and Eddie's relationship is fleshed out really well in these final 2 episodes. But for me, I look at Max's mental journey and everything coming to light here, all of these memories, and specifically when she was a lot younger. But I go back to that moment where she's at the dance. Once again, the balloons are popping and you're seeing blood spilling out of them. And it reminded me of It, when the clowns are chasing down the kids and all of the creepy things are happening. In this case, it's Vecna, and Vecna being such a well-built-up character in this season. You're absolutely terrified because you just don't think Max is going to make it out, especially when Jason, and you knew Jason was going after him because they're all, in there looking for guns. They're shopping. Erica sees the jocks and says, uh-oh, we might need to get out of here. But inevitably, Jason seeks them out, hunts them down, and finds them and gets in this huge, crazy fist fight with Lucas. And Lucas inevitably brings everything he has at him, but at the end of the day, that cassette tape gets stepped on, and there goes Kate Bush. Unbelievable. I wanted to run up that hill one more time, but we do get that song again, which was great. And this is where 11 comes in, once again, to save the day, journeying into the memories of Max, and she didn't even realize it was her actually there. She's like, is this a figment of my imagination? This is when we learn more about the origins of Vecna and the Mind Flayer, finishing this transformation, saying, all I needed was someone to open the door. We get those flashbacks to seasons 1 and 2, and then attempting to bring it all together. Billy saying in that flashback, all this time, we've been building it for you. So, I look back at these seasons. This is going to be a great chance to go back and rewatch these other seasons to set up Vecna, and it's perceived that they've done such a wonderful job of that. So this is when everything goes down, and we're going back to a bit of a montage, which may rub some people the wrong way, but I thought it was handled extremely well, right? You have Vecna, who's been attacked by Steve and Nancy and Robin, and all 3 of them are contributing, but seeing Nancy with that gun, I won't lie to you, it was pretty cool. You also have Hopper on the other side of the world fighting this Demogorgon. Vecna is on fire, like I said. 11 has Vecna in her grasp. You're also getting Eddie's death happening. You see some injuries be sustained that he's not coming back from. That scene between he and Dustin, you talk about emotions that are built up so well, and a lot of this has to do with the script, but in my opinion, more so the way that they direct this episode. Balancing so many things at one time is really, really tough, but it feels effortless, and Dustin's emotions, they're given time to play out, which I thought was brilliant. Eddie gets a couple of great lines in there. You see the sacrifice. Eddie goes down as a hero in my book, and that was such a beautiful scene. And then on the other side of things, you have Max, and Vecna is slowly, breaking Max's bones. You see what happened to Chrissy start to happen to Max, and the eyes. I think we all assumed at that moment that Max was dead. My heartstrings were not only pulled on, they were ripped apart. And Lucas, this performance, really both performances, Gaten, who plays Dustin, Caleb, McLaughlin, who plays Lucas, is just outstanding. The tears, they were flowing down the characters' faces, they were probably flowing down my face. I can neither confirm nor deny, but somebody was cutting onions in the room. So they were doing a great job of bringing out that emotion. But then it all kind of loses control, right? Vecna tears through these portals, these 4 portals that they were teasing all throughout these 2 episodes. And finally, Max dying for that 1 minute, like they say, allows those portals to open up, right? Rips right through Jason. His body torn to shreds. So there's I guess there's the other body, right? Hawkins is starting to get destroyed. Ripped to shreds. Vecna is coming through. Now, yeah, they're going to cover it up. It was an earthquake. Oh, it's not an actual demon portal. None of that stuff, guys. Look over here. Well, that's kind of like real life, isn't it? But because they take Vecna down, and because 11 is a big part of saving the day, it seems, not to us, but it seems to our characters that Vecna may still be alive until a bit later in the episode when Will, obviously he gets those chills at that moment where it all arises and teases us for the next season, which looks to be one big grand epic battle. But we knew even at the moment when he was shot out the window, when the body is gone, we knew that Vecna was still alive. They did everything they could possibly do, and they did it right. And they lost 2 characters in the process, except one obviously coming back in Max. Now, we don't know where Max is, right? Her mind may be elsewhere entirely. It may just be the severity of her injuries. They're not sure if she's going to make it back to us, but we see at a point 11 tries to look for her and nothing is there. So is she mentally with Vecna? Where is Max? She's with us physically, but where is she? So that's a big question we're going to have going into the next season. We also get some really nice moments at the end. Steve seeing Robin finally get to flirt with her love interest teased for us at the beginning of the season, I thought was great. And then Dustin's interaction with Mr. Munson was a really surprising moment for me. And I love the fact that it happened, right? He could have just let Mr. Munson go on his way and try to search for Eddie, but there's that part of you that's like, just tell the poor guy. And Dustin does. And he makes him realize that Eddie was indeed a hero. Now, he didn't go into full detail, which for me, I'd be like, I need to know all of the details. But it was a beautiful moment between those 2 characters. And I thought it was so surprising, the fact that the Duffer Brothers did that and threw that in there. That was really nice. Eddie, man. Come on, y'all. Eddie's such a good character. It's also funny because in It, Eddie dies. And in Stranger Things, Eddie dies. Eddie, man. Just don't name your kids Eddie. Or do. That's a nice name. But how about that moment at the end when we see the ashes start to come down and the young girl says, it's snowing. Oh, no. It's not snowing. It's not snowing. And we had 11 reunite with her dad and essentially kind of like her mom at this point. I mean, that's her family, and seeing Hopper come back and give 11 a hug was so wonderful. And all of our characters returning and hugging each other. Jonathan and Nancy, even though part of me's like, but Steve, though. But Steve. Anyway, I look at that final moment where the music is building and you see this huge crazy thing in the background and all of our characters are looking out, realizing, at least the main characters realizing, that they're going to have to go to war. What are we going to do about this huge situation happening in the background? What's going to is that Vecna? It's got to be Vecna. It not only has to be Vecna, but it's Vecna and the Mind Flayer. And whatever little demadogs are still out there, they're coming. And they're coming in hot for everyone in Hawkins, not just our main characters. So we're talking body count. We saw a body count at the end of the season, and less main protagonists died than what I expected. That's probably a bigger complaint that I have. It's not even a complaint. It's more of a qualm, right? None of the main crew died when it was teased so heavily, which is fine, right? They're probably saving it for the final season, but it's always the same thing with Stranger Things. They introduce a new character, we love that new character, and they die, right? It happened with Sean Astin. It's happened at least once a season, and this time around, that new character was Eddie, and Eddie died. I was thinking, they're not going to do that again, are they? And they did it again. So next season, I want to see some surprises there. Maybe 1 or 2 of the main crew. They did it with Max, but she's not dead. She's still alive. So how are they going to surprise us next time around? Also, kill off some of the parents. Just do it. All right? I like the parents, but you got to kill them off. Someone's got to die. I want death. I am Vecna. I also just kind of want chaos. I want to go on Twitter. I want to see people losing it. So, Season 5. Make people lose. Woo! Just breathing out a sigh of relief, man. I thought for sure they were taking Steve out, and I'm glad they did not. I thought maybe they'd take Jonathan or someone that felt a little bit more expendable, but that's not the case. It's looking like our crew, they're all going to come together and fight this big battle in Season 5. So my question is, what is Vecna doing? Is his plan to just take over Hawkins, or is there more to it? Who's going to die next season, and did any of these major reveals or deaths or fake-out deaths shock you? Was this handled well? I thought it was very well directed. And again, the Duffer Brothers, they just know. When I saw that they were directing this episode specifically, because most of the time they'll write the episode but won't direct it, this time they directed, I said, this is going to be a great finale. It was a 2-hour movie, essentially. It was massive. I've never seen anything like this season on television. And it's time to give a final score, because of course I gave a score for the first 7 episodes, and I said if it all comes together seamlessly, then I'm going to go higher than I ever imagined. I'm not going to say it was entirely seamless, but it was mostly seamless. And this is genuinely one of the most compelling seasons of television I've seen in a long, long time. I loved almost every second of it. Again, a couple of storylines at the beginning that I wasn't as into, and this time around, the Russia storyline, I'm like, let's just go back to Hawkins. But again, they brought it together with the introduction of Vecna, and they brought it together with all of these crazy battles, and the deaths that we got, even Max's, doesn't necessarily count, but even Max's hit me so hard, man. I was emotional during these final 2 episodes. Austin, stop talking. What's your score? I'm going to go a 95% for this season, guys. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. They brought it home. Beautiful direction and just a monumental season of television. But this is not about me. It's about you. What are your thoughts? Leave them down below. If you want more Stranger Things content, be sure to drop that like and come back for more on this channel. We have more reviews coming today. Stay tuned. I'll see you soon.